that's me. That's some of my background. I've done lots of things. So when Kevin was talking in the keynote earlier, I laughed because his job history looks a lot like mine. All of those companies on there, that's since 2011. So that's only 11 years. It's kind of crazy. And there's 2 acquisitions in there. Yeah, so look, I spent 6.5 years in the Air Force. I love GCP. I've been doing Linux now for 14 plus years. Yeah, I do Puppet. I do cloud infrastructure at Jasper. I'm on a team of 3 people that we do all the cloud infrastructure. Yeah, we basically own it all. So, all right, so those of you that don't know Jasper, I don't know why you're taking photos. No photos. For those of you that don't know Jasper, we're a new startup based on a former company called Proof, but founded in 21. We're basically an AI content platform that enables individuals and teams to leverage AI to scale their content strategies. I'll let you read the rest. There's a couple important points in here. Mostly we are one of the fastest growing companies at the moment. I was employee number 28 back in March, and we're now at 150, 160. It's kind of insane. We basically help writers create content, right? Marketing, bloggers, Instagram, Facebook posts, LinkedIn messages. We help everyone basically write everything. It's some pretty amazing tech and honestly more amazing people. So our stack, we're all in GCP. That was by design because I refused to do stuff with AWS anymore. Basically no dedicated compute, everything's on GKE holistically. We use managed services when we can, so Cloud SQL, Redis, GCS for block storage, BigQuery. We use Kustomize and Helm for deploying everything to GKE. We use Argo CD for our CD to actually do the deployments. Most of our traffic is all Node.js. There's a little Python sprinkled in, but most of that is on the ops side or the data side, not really on the actual customer data. And then the other key thing to note is, unlike I feel like every other talk here, we're actually using Teleport Cloud, mostly because I didn't want to deploy a separate Teleport cluster just to host Teleport. Yeah. All right, so fun part, problem statement. So we have developers, much like every company does, that need to deploy code to development environments. Product and business teams, especially on our side, need to be able to interact with those web applications. We need to be able to basically do collaborative work across functional teams. So product, business teams, marketing, billing, back end, front end, they all need to be able to use the development environments in a collaborative way. So in traditional environments, this creates a bottleneck. I have to do one of 2 things generally. I either have to grant teams like product or business technical tools to go and connect to these environments. They're not technically competent a lot of the times, especially for the tooling that we need them to install, or we just don't do it and you remove the collaboration. And this problem statement, by the way, was written by Jasper, which was pretty cool. All right, so what do we use? So this is really sort of just a high-level overview of what's involved in this talk specifically. One of my teammates, Dan Cushing, he's the DevX manager at Jasper. He actually did a great talk at Utah.js talking about Tilt and the Jasper CLI that we wrote. For those of you that don't know what Tilt is, I'll let you go Google it. But basically, it allows us to spin up Kubernetes resources locally as well as remotely. And that's what helps leverage some of the power with how this all works. So we have an internal tool called Jasper CLI that wraps some of the teleport stuff. It also wraps some of the Tilt stuff so that from a developer experience perspective, all of their workflow is completely agnostic and transparent. They don't know they're interacting with Teleport. They don't know they're interacting with Tilt, even though they really do. And then we use Teleport for basically securing the control plane, audit logging, granular RBAC, and IAP. Okay, so like I said earlier, I got to Jasper in about March. Probably around April or May when we had our first engineering on site, we started talking about what we wanted Teleport to do. And one of the things we need Teleport to do is to be able to create these dynamic environments for our developers so that they could interact with each other. We were fortunate enough that we didn't actually need it until about mid-August. And so this PR here that got closed on 7/25 is really what helped unlock everything for us. And so for those that haven't seen dynamic application registration, it basically allows you to dynamically register applications and providing the right roles and context. You can create the applications dynamically as teleport applications and just have them automatically get registered inside of teleport. There's some hand-wavy magic there that we'll sort of walk through, but it's actually pretty, not only critical, but it's actually amazing. Okay, so let's talk about Teleport Cloud. How does this all work? Okay, so at the bottom, really all the bottom picture is showing you is what it looks like in Teleport. For those of you that haven't seen the Teleport UI, that's basically just it's a button in the Teleport UI that you can click on that's cut off on the right, but the white box is really what's important here, and that's the role that allows our developers to create the dynamic applications. So there is a role in Teleport Cloud that says, hey, if they create a web app with the label of dynamic:dev, go ahead and let them create it. And all of our developers, all of our back-end, all of our front-end guys have the ability to create these roles. So the magic piece is really when we use the Jasper CLI to actually create the teleport application. So these guys spin up a remote dev workspace in Kubernetes in GKE that spins up a copy of our entire stack inside of roughly 4 minutes. That's a Postgres installation, Redis installation, back-end, front-end, everything it needs to basically be a full functioning stack for these guys. It spins it up within 4 minutes. Alongside that, a dynamic application inside of Teleport gets created. And so there's 2 pieces to this. One is in Helm, there is a modification made at one time to the Teleport Helm chart that we deploy on the infrastructure side to basically allow these dynamic applications to get created. And then when Tilt is spun up and all of the dev work happens, there is a teleport application template that basically gets created, and then it says, hey, here's my dev space name, which if you look back here, this one was called Advanced Vulture. We have a random name generator. It basically spins up the teleport application template, labels it properly, and then all of the other stuff is fairly static too. And so what happens is, once this is completely spun up, inside of the Teleport UI, you will see the application, it'll exist, and you'll be able to click on it. All right, so how does Teleport enable us? Centralized auditable authentication, identity-aware web proxy for Kubernetes applications. It basically creates a unified, secure, collaborative web environment, enabling all business units to interact with each other in real time without exposing service publicly. That's great, but what does that really mean? Okay, so it means that we as an organization take a business or product requirement and turn it into something viable with less friction, more collaboration, do it faster while ensuring security is never compromised. It's a bunch of words, but basically we were able to cross-team, cross-function with low friction and minimal effort get Jasper Art created. For those of you that don't know Jasper Art, it's basically text-to-image generation. This went from idea to product deployment or production deployment inside of 4 business days. We basically went Monday to Friday, and it wouldn't have been possible without Teleport. So down at the bottom left here, actually, Este is responsible for that masterpiece of art. That is Keanu Reeves with a dog. And the other one is, it's a Hobbit hole. That's right, I forgot about that one. Yeah, so again, like, we had front-end people, back-end people, product people, all able to work on the same exact environment. We were all able to basically do a hackathon in real time across multiple time zones, all remote, and we all had access to the same literal infrastructure that was then all protected by Teleport. Okay, so things that I'm still missing from Teleport that I'd love to see. There is a GitHub issue out for core support. Basically, if you start talking across cores or across Teleport web apps, even though you're hosting Teleport Cloud on a single domain or your apps on a single domain, because you're talking from app to app, technically that authentication doesn't work across them. And so there's a support issue for that. I know Teleport knows about the unmodifiable default roles. I deleted the default role when I first got Teleport access, which bricked my access, which means I couldn't fix the access that I broke. So I had to reach out to support for that. They fixed that. And then the audit log is another one. I know there's been talk about audit logs, but being able to grab those quicker, faster, better would be great from my perspective. All right, Q&A. Anybody got anything?
Right over here. Also, big round of applause. Thank you so much.
As I understand, the environments and the applications that you are creating are test environments, right? Is that the primary usage for this ephemeral environments and ephemeral apps?
So realistically, the environments that we're creating, yes, it's a SaaS application technically because it's a front end with a back end that's as a service. But I mean, our entire stack gets deployed into a single namespace for every developer. So if I've got 40 developers and they're all working on their own feature branch and they've all got their own independent dev space deployed, it's 40 different copies of our entire stack. But any one of those 40 are now accessible by anybody in the company who has Teleport access.
Yeah, that's great. That's clear. And then like another question, you mentioned that you're using the Argo CD for CD, yep, and that you're using Tilt. How both of them work to create this kind of environments?
So Tilt is really only used for local and dev, right? We're using Argo for staging and production, but we didn't want to have them deploy dev with Argo because that's a little bit too much. So Tilt really just, do you know what Tilt is?
Yeah, we're using Tilt and
okay,
we're using Argo. So this is Argo, right? Here.
No, so this is actually, so we actually deploy, what we deploy via Tilt, we deploy the same way with Argo. Okay. So we use a customized command that does all of the Helm templating, and it's basically, we're doing the same commands in Tilt that we do in Argo.
Gotcha.
So Tilt's doing the deployment to dev, if that
awesome.
Makes sense.
Yes. Like,
okay.
Yeah. Like we have like similar configuration,
okay,
like exactly the same. Teleport part is missing right now.
Okay.
So that's great that they offer this option right now. I'm also wondering what would, like in your dev environment, like the software development lifecycle, what would be the trigger for creating this kind of environment? Is it like the CLI command? Is it Jasper CLI create my environment?
Basically, yeah. It's basically Jasper, or it's JP is what we call it. It's basically JP dev space deploy. And it awesome. Spins them up. And then whatever branches they're on for whatever repos they need deployed, it'll take those current branches that those are on, whether it's master or something else. It'll build images from those and then obviously push those to GKE.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome ideas, thank you.
I have two. One, GCP has IAP for that reason. So why you cannot use it?
So yeah, so funny. So the question was basically GCP has IAP. Why am I using Teleport? So I've actually used GCP's IAP before. I've always found it to be a nightmare. As much as I love GCP and I love most things GCP, their IAP implementation seems like a third-class citizen. So configuring it, managing it, it doesn't allow, part of the problem is that my product guys don't have GCP access. I don't want to give them GCP access, but I have to if I grant them IAP access in GCP. Teleport allows me to give more people inside of our G Suite org access to the Teleport things without having to give them access to the underlying infrastructure that manages. That makes sense?
Yeah, if you're talking about SSH.
So we have no compute, so we don't SSH.
Right. Oh, so you're talking about IAP for apps, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just web apps.
Yeah, and second question, so we had this challenge with Google's IAP. like you have teleport, which uses probably single sign-on or something, and your app is also OIDC app, which basically OAuth 2 authorization, and it needs its own bearer token. So does teleport solve these issues?
No, so teleport doesn't necessarily solve that for us. So the authentication doesn't get passed from teleport to our app, because I wouldn't want that anyway, right? I want them to basically get to the front door of our app, where it would then behave just like if our app was exposed publicly. You're still going to need to sign in. You're still going to need to sign
basically
out.
Basically, two authentications.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we had the same issue.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That was great.